Hey guys, welcome to Andertons TV. I've hopped over to the drum channel today to spend some time with Caleb Crosby. He is over with his band, Tyler Bryant The Shakedown, to promote their new record.
Yep.
And, you know, we heard you were in town. Tyler's coming down a bit later on this afternoon, and thought we'd get you on and chat.
I'm happy to be here. I love the channel. I mean, this is my first time being here, obviously, but it's awesome. And just, the place is electric. Like, the second you walk in the front door, I was like, yes, you know, I'm where I need to be right now. So I'm happy to be here with you. And
no, it's cool,
yeah,
man.
It's great, man.
So I come from a family of drummers.
Sure.
You know, brother, dad, granddad. And so I'm really interested in, you know, life growing up and how musical your family was and what inspired you. So, tell us about where you grew up.
I grew up, I wouldn't say necessarily in a musical home, but my dad was musical, mostly a teacher, band director, choir director, but he also played in a band when I was growing up. It's kind of more like I'd say like a gospel kind of band. So I grew up kind of definitely being immersed in it, around it. But I don't know that I ever really thought about, I want to do this. Right. I was really into sports. I was like an athlete when I was young. So all I cared about was baseball, you know? And basketball, but I was too short to play basketball. So baseball was like my thing.
We've got some baseball.
Yeah, right. Some Louisville Slugger bats here. But I guess I was around 9 or 10, and I just kind of started, we talked about this earlier, dinner table.
The curse of the drummer.
The thing, and my parents were kind of like, what's this? You know, kind of building the pots, the typical thing that drummers do. And so they surprised me with a kit one year when I was 10 for Christmas. And man, it was like from there. And I think I was when I was 13, I did everything. I did the school jazz band. I did the school pep band at the basketball games. I did... well, I guess at that time I was still playing basketball, but still like concert band, everything that I could like kind of do at the time. And then I made a decision when I went to high school, like, hey, I'm music full time. Like I'm giving up sports. Like, you know, I want to like pursue this as something I want to do. I was really serious at that point. But I played, you know, in bands around town, and I'm from a small town in Kentucky, so it wasn't anything major, you know what I mean? But we'd play at some coffee shops here and there, and I really loved jazz. So I was in like a couple like jazz trios and some like small groups and stuff like that kind of did the typical, hey, we're going to play at a coffee shop, and, you know, we'd make like $6 a piece, you know what I mean? So it was like, you know, you had that, and but yeah, man, I like quickly, I don't know, I just like picked up the drums pretty fast, pretty naturally, and man, I like started studying and doing everything that I could, and that's obviously what brought me to Nashville.
Who were the guys that you were listening to? You know, you mentioned that you got the drum kit out the blue, which is kind of unusual, you know.
Sure.
Especially, you know, I certainly wouldn't be buying any of my kids a drum kit unless they were begging me for one.
Right? It's like...
So was there a band or a drummer? Were you even at that point, were you identifying with drummers and trying to find out, you know, who's the drummer in that band?
I would say yes and no. I mean, like, to some degree, I think I was just trying to figure it out on my own. I was definitely like listening to records, like playing, like, you know, paying attention to the drums. I grew up like on kind of like soul music, like R&B, kind of like that. The Commodores, Ohio Players, stuff like that, Stevie Wonder, kind of like Prince even. You know, so I definitely, like groove, I was all about it. And so I like really identified with that. But like I said a second ago, like I was really into jazz. So I feel like that's when I really started paying attention to the drummers and what they were doing. Steve Gadd, Elvin Jones, Buddy Rich.
Oh, okay. So you're talking everything from like Tower of Power kind of right back to
David Garibaldi,
old
dude.
school,
yes, totally.
Buddy Ritchie kind of big band jazz stuff.
Yes, absolutely. Like big band, Count Basie, like all that kind of stuff. I was really into it, and I think especially around that time, like kind of when I was first coming up, like that's what really interested me the most. And even guys like Vinny Colaiuta, like I was really into Dave Weckl at the time, you know, kind of like the drummers.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like the guys that you watch and you're like, cool, I love that. I can never do that, but I love that, you know? So I was really into that. And then, man, I think it was like high school, I started, you know, like as I was playing in bands, I started to kind of learn more about like, let's say like song drummers, right? Like band drummers, like drummers that just play. You know, and like Phil Rudd and like, you know what I mean? Like just like, I'm laying it down and no one's going to, you know, tell me otherwise, that kind of thing. And obviously love Bonham because every drummer loves Bonham, and Keith Moon, you know, stuff like that.
Is there a drummer phrase? There's a guitar player phrase which is something like licks for show, chords for dough, you know, meaning like all of this is irrelevant. Where the money is just play the good chords.
Sure.
Is there like a drummer saying?
Oh yeah. Well, what is it? It's
Because you.
Oh, dude, no.
Do we know what it is? Anyone in the room?
No, it totally is. But you know what? It's gonna come to me. It's gonna come to me at that. If you wouldn't have asked me, I would have known it. It's like one of those things. But it definitely is. That's gonna bother me.
Because you talk about, you know, Vinny and Dave Weckl and all that, you know, amazing guys, have incredibly successful careers. But like you say, the Phil Rudd is a great example. Charlie Watts, you know, all those kind of
perfect examples.
It's like the really mega bands tend to just have a dude.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. And I feel like drummers, that's their job, right? Lay down a groove. You know, you pick and choose your moments, but I'm playing a groove, man. And so for me, my approach has been that, you know, especially like with Tyler and, you know, kind of in that band or, you know, in our band, and too in Nashville. Like before I met Tyler, moving to Nashville, that's what I learned, right? Moving to a music town, I was in high school, I was a drummer. You know what I mean? Like the busy, this is cool, this is awesome, double bass, tons of cymbals, tons of this. Moved to Nashville and I started going to shows and I was like, wait a second, this is like something else. And so I like scaled back the kit, you know what I mean? Yeah. I don't need all those drums, 4-piece kit, 2 cymbals, cool, we're off to the races. And so I think I learned that pretty quickly.
Yeah. That Nashville thing, sorry to interrupt, no, before we sort of skip past that, that feels to me like that's a real, you know, that's a pivotal moment. I don't know where the equivalent in the UK would be. I guess, you know, going to a big city like London or Liverpool or Manchester or something. But, you know, making that thing of going, right, I have to move out. I have to go to where the music's at.
Sure.
LA, Nashville, whatever. How old were you when you did that?
I was 17 when I moved. I think, no, that's not right. I had just turned 18 when I moved to Nashville.
And like your whole family didn't go, just you?
No, just me, yeah.
So what's that, you know, and I'm just thinking for people that are maybe coming up to that age now, wherever they are in the world, thinking, you know, especially must be even worse if you're thinking, I've got to leave my country as well. You know,
sure. And granted, like, you know, for me, it was only about 4 hours south. So it wasn't like I was going crazy far away or going to LA, which is, you know, other side of the country. But it still was a big deal. I knew nobody. Yeah. I had no friends. You know, so I had a random room. I went down there for school. That's when I went down for university. Okay. I went to this place called Belmont University, big, like, you know, commercial music school, and that's what the program that I was in. And so, but, you know, random roommate, just assigned, you know, that I met, like, or, you know, online, like 2 weeks before orientation or whatever. And so, but I was, like, excited about getting out of kind of what I knew in the small town kind of thing and getting into this kind of my own kind of life, stepping into this new chapter. And I think it was extremely important for my growth, obviously as a human, as a person, but mostly as a musician. You know what I mean? And being surrounded by, we always joke, like in Nashville, like you go, and we were even talking about this earlier, you go and get a coffee, 9 times out of 10, that dude that's serving you your coffee is better at music than you are. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's just how Nashville is. And so you have just constantly surrounded, you hear conversations of, ba-da-da-da-da, oh yeah, I was just out, doing this, and oh, we just got back from, Singapore playing a show. It's like, there's just that everywhere.
Yeah.
And so obviously it's competitive. I think, kind of within our family, within our group, it's like a friendly competitiveness. And obviously it's everyone is cheering everybody on. But man, you're forced to learn very quickly. Yeah. As far as like how to step into scenarios and to do what would pay the bills, especially like as a drummer, you know what I mean? Nobody wants to hire you if you come in and you're playing everywhere.
Yeah.
And you have to learn that, you know what I mean?
So how long were you? So your degree at Belmont was what, like 2 years, 3 years?
4 years.
4 years. Okay.
Yeah.
And you saw that all the way through?
I did. I don't know. I truly don't know how because I met Tyler my sophomore year of school.
What does that mean in English?
So that's the second year.
Okay.
Yeah. So second year of my 4-year degree. So it was my second semester of my second year that I met Tyler. Mm-hmm. And
was he at Belmont?
No, he wasn't. He just moved to town to like we were talking earlier to be a songwriter. Right. And he wanted to kind of get away from the Texas thing to kind of focus on that songwriting career. BMI brought him up there, kind of put him up in an apartment, and he was trying to make friends. And so we just met randomly through a mutual friend at the booking agency that had just signed him on, CAA. And not to get too much into it, but basically they set us up just randomly to like have coffee and see what would happen. And the funny thing is we were talking about this yesterday in an interview in Paris. They were like, well, tell us about like the first time you had coffee. And Tyler was like, man, we sat down and I told drummer jokes the whole time. And he did. And the first joke he told me is, what do drummers use for birth control? And the guy was like, what? And he was like, their personality. I was like, dude, come on. But anyways, so that's what he did, literally. We hit it off, and obviously we had like good chemistry. We got along, but he told drummers the whole time. And I remember going back and telling my roommate at the time, he's like, what was the kid like? Was he, did you guys get along, whatever? And I was like, just told drummer jokes the whole time. I don't know. But I guess it was about 2 weeks later that we jammed, and I knew that there was something special. And I think it was this unspoken thing where it was like all of a sudden we were in a band. We didn't say, hey, are we going to do this? Are we going to play together? It was just like, oh, this is something. And man, that semester I took all my finals early, and we went out on the road with REO Speedwagon and Styx. And that started kind of the whole deal. And so we were out on the summer tour. I came back and I was like, do I do this school thing? And I did. I kept doing it, and I was able, obviously because I was in the music school, by my third year, it's more music oriented. Mm-hmm. You've kind of knocked out those basic courses, and all the music teachers are cool with, oh, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Now, if I had a religion class or something like that, they'd be like, yo, this isn't gonna fly. So I'd have to like drop the class and take it another semester when I could. And but honestly, looking back on it, I really don't know how I graduated and finished.
What was it about your playing style? I mean, I like the Tyler Bryant stuff and the Shakedown stuff, which I think certainly there's a couple of tracks off the new album which you can kind of listen to on pre-release at the moment. And obviously the album before, the self-titled one from 2017. Mm-hmm. it's very groove. You know, I think I probably came to it with an expectation because of Tyler's kind of maybe the media around him when he was younger. I think I was expecting something where it was like going to be more flashy, but it's quite, you know, it's quite groovy, not like simple breakdown kind of big hooks and riffs.
It's like groovy and driving. I think the thing is like we learned that it was just more about the song.
That's what I say. So when you first jammed, or certainly as you formed this relationship over the years, and you obviously relatively quickly made a connection. What was it? You know, was there something about your drumming that you think Tyler kind of could hook into, and it really enabled the guitar playing to?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think we really complemented each other well, and I think the other thing too was we easily were able to play off of each other, right? If I did something that inspired him, he did something back kind of to answer me, and I did something back to answer him, and it was this constant push and pull too. I also, when I play, we don't use a click or anything, so it's very ebb and flow, right? A lot of push and pull, you know, tempo-wise, and again, it's something that we've kind of crafted over the years, but I think really initially, it was still that way. It wasn't like, I feel like a lot of Nashville, or, you know, drummers in general, and nothing against this, there's just nothing at all, it's just something that we don't do. It's very, you know, just, you know, to a click. You know, and it's very straight, and it's very like, I'm the drummer, and I'm doing the parts that are on the record, and that's it. And that's cool. But with our thing, it's so not that. It's so not planned. It's very kind of spur of the moment, off the cuff. You know, set lists aren't the same. Maybe solos are 10 times as long one night and short the next night, or, you know, whatever. And so I think we kind of saw eye to eye on that pretty quickly, where it was just more like in the moment rather than like well rehearsed and planned, if that makes sense. So I think quickly as we started playing, you know, we're joking about this, but it's like, you know, we were trying to navigate at first. We were just trying to figure it out because we just had no clue. But that's how you grow.
Was it just a three?
It was. So like when Tyler was like, "Hey, let's jam," like, "Do you know a bass player?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, you know, I know bass players, yeah, but I don't know if like any of them would be into doing it. But I know I sit next to this guy in music theory. I'll ask him if he wants to do it." So I did ask him, and I had to talk him into it. But I was like, "I'll pick you up at your dorm, and we'll go." And it was this crappy rehearsal space in Nashville, and I think it's still around, but I'm not sure. And it was like, you know, like $20 an hour or something like that, crappy drums. Like, but I didn't have to take my kit, which is like, I was like, do I have to take my kit? No, there's a drum kit there. Okay, cool, perfect, You know, because it was always a pain to lug it out of the dorm. And anyways, we went, and sure enough, man, it was something. And we were a trio for the first, I'd say the first year, maybe a year and change. And then we met Graham, and it was, you know, kind of was a 4-piece. And I think that was a big thing, or an important part for Tyler, to have someone else to kind of push him playing wise. I was kind of against it because I liked the trio thing because it was a little bit more open. There was a little bit more space for me to fill, which I liked that. And I was also concerned with someone else coming in and trying to step on his toes. Because Graham, his dad's in Aerosmith.
Yes.
And so obviously he kind of like comes from that rock and roll royalty. So I wasn't really sure as far as like what that was going to look like. And as we started kind of hanging with him and kind of building a rapport and a relationship, I realized like that just wasn't his vibe at all. And so it was a perfect fit. And
he probably gets that from his, because that's
completely.
Brad's.
Yes, that's Brad's
vibe
thing
in Aerosmith.
And Brad,
just like,
completely.
Yeah.
And you're exactly right. And so it was a perfect fit. And obviously from there, like we ended up getting a new bass player that actually, oddly enough, was one of my classmates, whatever, in university, drummer.
Right.
And so when we were having bass auditions, which, you know, is a funny story because, you know, you get a lot of that in Nashville. The guy comes in with the music stand, with the charts. We're not that type of band, you know? And it's like, what key do we do it in? You know what I mean? It's like, dude, no. You know, like this isn't anyways, granted, they're great. They're great players. It's just not the vibe. It wasn't the vibe. But, he hit me up like, hey, I heard you're doing auditions. And I'm like, dude, I'm still playing drums in the band. I don't know what you think you're doing. He's like, no, I play bass. I was like, oh, okay. So he came in. He was like 25 or 26, I think, he was like second to last guy. We did like 2 days. And, dude, it was brutal. It was like, we played the same songs over and over. And he was the guy. And it was great, too, because he was a drummer. So our relationship playing-wise was kind of there. He already knew my playing. And so it was an immediate kind of glove.
And you like that? Because I always, I always think sometimes, is that the worst thing in the world? I look at Foo Fighters or something, I'm only thinking of it as an example of just like, two great drummers in one band.
Sure.
Is there camaraderie and goodness, or is there always that sense of like, I would have done that better?
Totally, I get that, because a lot of people ask me that. But the funny thing is that everyone in our band plays drums.
Right.
But then again, I think most people think they play drums. You know what I mean? Because drums are kind of the easiest thing to sit down and be like, oh yeah, I can play a beat. Here we go.
Yeah.
Because Graham started out on drums.
Right.
And man, when we first started playing shows, Tyler would come back and play drums in the show. And I would go up front with the gong drum I was talking about earlier and kind of do a thing, and he'd play a groove, and it was hilarious. He knew one beat that he'd play. But I think it's not that. And he kind of knows the role and doesn't he definitely will. We trust everybody, or everyone trusts each other, and so but they're definitely not like, hey, you should have played this or you should do this. But I actually like the two drummer thing, because if there's ever a time when we need that, or we want, hey, let's go in and do percussion together, and it's cool. Yeah. But even if I'm out of town and they do a demo and Noah plays on it, I'm like, it's cool because he would play something different than I would. And so maybe I hear it differently. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, I love what you did. You know what I mean? Then Graham sends me drum beats all the time. Dude, we should write a song like this. And so it's cool, man. I don't hate it. Sometimes I'm like, dude, come on. I'm the drummer. Let me do what I'm going to do. But it's cool. I'm fine with it.
Can you, obviously, I don't know how we're going to include the playing in this video, but I'm guessing that, you guys saw a little bit at the beginning and probably, cut in bits as we're talking. Is this indicative of kind of, the type of setup that you'd be most comfortable with? Something relatively simple?
Yeah, it's totally small. I like, small, simple, easy, it's pretty close. It's close enough. Like I said, I normally have the gong drum. I've recently this year added a second floor tom, only for some of the newer songs. I need that. But yeah, dude,
And are you, because I know, I noticed watching you play, there's a cool kind of shuffle kind of vibe on the bass drum. Are you, in your head when you're playing, do you say to Tyler, look, just give me the idea of the riff and I'll just see if I can kind of come in and sort of compliment, or is it, do you find yourself gravitating to playing a certain style of another drummer? What's just the sort of just
especially in songwriting too, I don't know that there's a rhyme or reason to how it happens, but definitely if Tyler calls me, he's like, yo, I got this riff that I love, or maybe he sends a voice memo or something. I always definitely am trying to go, okay, how do I compliment without stepping on it, but also figuring out kind of how to add my own kind of flair to it. But maybe it's the opposite. Maybe, like you were talking about the songs on the new record, the first song we release on to the next. So a good reason why I popped that little symbol on. That's the sound. That's how we built that whole groove, was me doing that kind of just randomly and playing around, and we wanted to be inspired by something. So we found a tempo that we liked, and I probably played for 20 minutes, just kind of different syncopations and accents in different spots, just to kind of be inspired. So we kind of picked a spot where picked a few bars we liked, and we looped it, and And that's how we wanted like an STP kind of like simple, like chugging kind of thing. You know what I mean? And that's how the kind of came about. And so then, as you know, opposite of what I just said, he was kind of inspired by the groove. And so, and that's kind of how we approach everything. Is Tyler and I just sit down and we just play. And again, like I think we have a strong chemistry to go like, and maybe it's like, I'm swinging a little bit more, but he's kind of playing straight. So you get this weird, like almost like the Who. You know what I mean? You kind of get that where it's like straight, but like, what is that? Like the cymbals kind of shuffling a little bit.
They're all my favorite. Yeah, I still always think Zeppelin were just the masters of that kind
for sure. But it's like whoa, but the way that it fits is almost like
it modulates and then kind of
comes a little off.
Yeah,
but it sounds great, you know. But when you dissect it, it's like it really doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You know, it makes sense, but you know what I mean.
Who did you get the cymbal on the drum? Because I saw you put it on there. I go, I've never seen this.
Yeah, before, honestly, I don't know that I got it from anyone. I think, you know, I'll tell you this. My last year of school, I studied with this guy. He, you know, kind of one of the university kind of like. One of the big, like I studied with Chester Thompson, who played with like Weather Report, and I studied with him at Belmont, and Zorro, who's like Lenny Kravitz and Frankie Valli and Bobby Brown, like, you know, just so like some big cats, Derica Watson, who played with Victor Wooten,
right?
But Todd is like the university guy, you know, and so when I studied with him, I was like, man, I want to do something different. I feel like when I'm a drummer, I always want to sit down and be a drummer. You know, I want to get away from that. How do I get away from that? Like, be inspired by other sounds. Do the same thing, but like sonically get different sounds. So it's like even approaching that and going like, you know, on the tom, something different, right? All of a sudden, it's a color that I haven't heard. It's like, whoa, that's weird. I'm used to hearing this, you know. And so then from there, obviously, you can kind of get more, you know. Incorporated.
Is it colours? Because you mentioned, you know, there's only, I guess, you know, that's a pretty straight beat there like that. You can play that same straight beat on different
on different cymbals, on different rides. Sure.
So is it more that rather than kind of go, I need a different beat? Because then sometimes you just go, well, hang on, that's not
yeah, and then it could be like a different beat. But I always like wanted to sit down and almost act like I didn't know how to play the drums. Like I didn't know that this is how you hold the sticks, and you know what I mean? So it's like as a non-drummer sitting down, it's like, oh, what do I hit this? You know what I mean? Like, do I hit that? You know? So to kind of like almost take yourself out of being a drummer, you know, and find rhythms and sounds. And so when we do demos, like I always change the setup up and just to like be inspired by not sitting. Now, obviously live, I don't do
trying to play left-handed or something like that.
Sure. I mean, I did. And actually, speaking of Chester Thompson, it's everything you do, every exercise, he's like, okay, great. You got that. Now, left-handed. So it's like every... You know what I mean? So it's like all of that, and it's like, and then when I'm done, I'm like,
I was at a Zildjian Day once, and Pete Erskine was doing the thing, and he went, I'm going to play this tempo with this hand, and a different tempo with this hand, and a different tempo with this hand. And obviously the sound, I'm trying to even remember whether or not it made any sense at all. It probably didn't, but it was just like each limb was nailed on virtually. Like you know, it's like, and like you said, that thing where you just like it makes you feel sick. That was almost that.
Totally. Well, it's those drummers that can kind of split. It's the extreme independence, right? It's like all four limbs are doing something totally different. It kind of is like makes your head spin a bit. There's this drummer that I loved growing up, Marco Miniman, who's like from Germany.
Isn't that Guthrie's? No.
Was he on the Aristocrats?
He was Aristocrats? Is he
yes.
Is he still in that band?
He's in some abstract,
like
it's
proper proggy stuff.
Totally. Yeah. But like his whole thing was like it's mad, and he auditioned for Dream Theater too after Portnoy left, and you know, the video on YouTube where all those drummers, it's like, how do you pick from those drummers that come in, like Thomas Lang and like him, and it's like all those dudes are like just monster. Anyways, But same deal. I'm playing 15/16 in my right hand, and I'm playing in 4/4 in my left, and blah, 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 blah. It's stuff that's just like, what is going on? Again, drummers.
Yeah.
And now, obviously, Miniman can lay down a groove. I'm not saying that he can't. But man, I love that stuff. I can definitely geek out on it. For me, I want to be more like Phil Rudd. You know what I mean? So we did that the AC/DC tour back in 2016, and
wow.
So that was Chris Slade on drums, and he's the same though. It's like the best way I can describe him is like a train, just going, like a train that doesn't stop.
But that's not even just, that's the whole
That's
band,
the group. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Apart from Angus, isn't it, really?
Oh, yeah, for
You know?
sure. And Angus is a madman, and like just larger than life, and like on stage, dude, it's just like unbelievable. But yeah, we got to do 33 shows with them around the world.
Well, that's actually a great segue, that is, because I was sort of thinking, we kind of went a bit off to, I wanted to talk about kind of, a bit more drummy stuff. But if we go back to the band, you're sort of in Nashville, you've done this REO Speedwagon thing, and you're getting things together with Tyler and da-da-da-da. But what was the, some of the headline, some of the support tours you ended up doing are insane. You're talking about going from presumably playing to a few hundred people, maybe not even that sometimes, to playing to like 75,000 people, 100,000 people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, man. It's wild because it started. I mean, we've done a lot of support, like from the REO to the Styx. We've done some with Heart. We've done, we did a show with Three Dog Night, Skinnerd, blah, 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 the gamut through all of like the classic rock. Had amazing experiences. And then kind of our first, we did one with Aerosmith. I think we got like 15 minutes opening for Aerosmith, like 3 songs, like maybe 2.5. And like in 2010. And obviously done more with them since. And but yeah, like the big, like kind of, I feel like break for us was 2016. We got the call to do 3 shows with AC/DC in the States. And it was still when Bryan was around. And it was like basically, here's your shot to like win the tour, win the whole year.
I see.
Yeah. So it was like, but they want to test you out first to see if they like you.
But then you can't. You got to be good, but you can't be too good, can you?
Right.
So you got to pitch it just
right. You gotta just kind of fit right in the middle there. So we go, man. We're like, we just couldn't believe it, man.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget. Not to get into like too many details, but we were actually out supporting Billy Gibbons at the time. We were doing acoustic. Yeah. And I know we were talking about this earlier, but like we were the 4 of us, like we got I want to say was it 6 inputs? I think we got 6 inputs for the 4 of us. So Graham was playing guitar, Tyler was playing guitar through an amp, and I had my one drum with a cymbal. I like played my gong drum with a cymbal, and it was kind of hilarious looking back on it. But we had such a blast. It was his solo thing. It was like the Perfectamundo. It was the Cuban solo thing. 2 drummers, 2 chick drummers. It was pretty wild. Like it was definitely different Billy, but cool. And we got that call and had to go and be like, Billy, like, sorry man, we got this like opportunity. We can't pass it up. And he was like, God, that's something I can get behind. That kind of thing. And he was very. He was understanding and very cool about it. But man, I remember we drove in our van from Nashville, Tennessee to Tacoma, Washington. It was like 42 hours, and it was February. So we drove through like 3 blizzards. Dude, it was crazy. And we roll up literally to the venue at like 7 a.m. day of show, and we're all like, our eyes are bleeding. And I remember we walked in, and I remember hearing the techs sound checking. Back in Black. What is going on? We couldn't believe it. And yeah, man, just crazy. Anyways, that was we were kind of thrown into the Lion's Den that show and or that tour, and sure enough, we ended up getting the whole thing, and Angus liked us, and it was cool, and 10 shows, and then we're about to take off to Atlanta. There was like 10 days off in between. We did a cruise, actually. I can't remember what cruise it was, but we did something that was kind of booked already, and it worked out perfectly for our schedule. And we're about to take off, and management calls, hey, they're canceling the rest of the tour. Brian Johnson lost his hearing. You know, they're canceling indefinitely. What? We had been on this high, and immediately, like, poof, go down here. We're like, man, Europe's up in the air. Like, it was going to be our first time to come to the UK, go to any parts of Europe. We had been dying to go. We just couldn't make it work financially, you know? So, you know, fast forward some weeks, and we find out Axl Rose might come and sing with AC/DC. No way, really? Sure enough, that happens. We're still on as the support. And it was just crazy, man. And so we fly to London. I think we get on the bus, and we drive down to Lisbon, Portugal. And 65,000 people, I think. It was like 3 o'clock, doors open. It's pouring rain all day. I'm like nervous thinking about it because I've never been more nervous. None of us had ever been that nervous. And sure enough, we go out to play. People are chanting. Dude, it was just wild. Still raining. Everybody's in there like, you know, ponchos and stuff. We go out and we play the first song. And we settled in after that. But no kidding, after the first song, the rain stopped, sun came out, place erupted. It was like this pretty special moment that kind of, honestly, like kind of cemented us in this, like, oh man, like we're good, we're set, you know? And we fast forward actually to when we played Queen Elizabeth Stadium here in London with, we called it Axl DC. We met Axl that night, and he was like, what did he say? He goes, I really like you guys, man. He's like, you're the first opening band I haven't had to ignore. And we were like, right on. And he was like, I want to have you guys out with my band sometime. And we were like, what? So when we left, we were like, are we gonna like get to play with Guns N' Roses? Sure enough, the next week we had 2 offers that came in, and it was a whirlwind, man. It's like it was a snowball effect. And
At what point on this like stellar support thing does the band start going, do we want to just be like the support band forever?
So there's that funny line, right?
Where's the line?
Sure, and it did kind of like there for a while we were doing that. Now, granted, in these tours, we're doing headlining shows in between. So we'll go from 65,000, we turn around the next night in wherever Spain and be playing for 125, 150.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you go from this side of the spectrum to this side of the spectrum, and we're going like, whoa. But for us, we always approach the show the same way.
Yeah.
Now, the opening thing did kind of like, we're getting all these opportunities. The next tour was Aerosmith and Deep Purple, and we did a show at Hyde Park with Tom Petty, and which was like ultimate for us. And but yeah, man, I think regardless, all the shows were still approached the same. But I think it was so important for us to do all of those shows because we learned so much about how to command a stage. There's nothing more horrifying than, Tyler always uses this analogy, and I think it's perfect. It's like, AC/DC fans, they're die-hard fans. Guns N' Roses the same.
Yep.
Like the big like rock fans, it's like opening band, what? Don't care, that kind of thing. And it's like giving an AC/DC fan the newest AC/DC record, and he always says that we are the plastic wrap on that record that you can't wait to get off to listen to the record. You know what I mean? And so for us, it was this challenge. It's great, it's perfect. And so for us, it was that challenge of going like, we want them to take their time getting it off, And it was this like thing of us figuring out, how do we get the person in the very, very back to respond? That like we're this big to them, How do we get that? And it took a while, man, to like figure that out. And even like conversations with Angus, like, Tyler, I remember we were in the Czech Republic in Prague, and he was like, how do I get these people to come with me? And he was like, if you're, I can't remember exactly, and I'm sure you're interviewing him later, and he'll probably tell you if you ask him. exactly what he said, but it was something like, you know, if you're true and honest, and you tell them that you're going to take them on a journey, they'll come with you. It was one of those things that, like, I get chills thinking about it, because it's like, you know, we're talking like legends, rock icons that have been doing it forever since, you know, Angus when he was like 17 or 16 or something. And so I think it was so important for us to kind of go through that whole thing, just for us, you know. And I remember after that tour, and obviously the Guns tour, and then we did our first like main headlining tour on our own, in Europe and the UK. And those shows after that, like that following fall, were on just another level, because we're taking, and even the songwriting, like everything is changing because of those experiences, and what we learned. And the other thing we always say is like, you know, we'd finish and we'd go to the dressing room and we'd like maybe change real quick, and it was like, all right, cool, what time is AC/DC going? We wouldn't miss a downbeat ever. Right. Same with Guns. It's like we go to front of house or like friends and family and we watch the show. And we always say, we're going to school, man. You know? We like, I get chills, man, because it's like thinking back on it, I like, you know, to the detail. What's on their pre-show? What are they playing pre-show to kind of prepare everyone? You know, production-wise, what's going on? You know, what does the set list look like? How do they shape the set? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you're learning all those things and taking it all, like a sponge.
Who's your favorite drummer to watch then? Like, as in, because you know, we talked a little bit before about your favorite drummers to sort of listen to, but is there somebody when you're just like, man, like, you know, and I know what, I mean, I saw, I find big. There's very few bands that do stadiums properly. Like, I think probably the worst gigs that I've ever been to have just been where it's a mega band, but they're just not. It's not a stadium thing. And likewise, you know, I remember seeing Jeff Beck at Ronnie Scott's with Vinny on the drums and everything, and literally being, you know, as far away from the camera now, and it's impossibly exciting to be in that. But so who would you? You know, because you talked about going to school. You know, it's like going to school. Yeah. So who did you see and just think that's
as far as like the support that we've done, or anybody?
Well, I mean, I was only thinking because you've supported some great bands, but yeah, I guess anybody really. But you know,
but if I talk like support, like I always loved watching Chris Slade play.
Right.
I mean, obviously, we talked Phil Rudd earlier, and some, you know, big diehard AC/DC fans are like, we miss Phil. But Chris, again, had this thing of like, he's always like, I heard this, like, his face is just like, he's always just in it, you know? And I loved that. Like, the intensity of like how he played was just awesome. Man, I love like watching Taylor Hawkins play. Like, I think, and in the same Grohl. Like, every time I watch, one of my favorite clips ever is when Grohl got, like, way back when, got to play on SNL with Tom Petty, and it's just like, we know Tom Petty as like Steve Ferrone, Stan Lynch, like groove kind of whatever, and that was like, they played Honeybee, which is like one of my favorite songs. And if you haven't seen this clip, you got to look it up and find it online, because it's so awesome. And you know, Grohl's like, cymbals are up here, and he is like playing in Nirvana but playing with Tom Petty. And it's one of those things that's like mind blowing. It's like clack clack clack, and he comes in and he's just, and you can't even see him because his drums are so big. But I love animated drummers, and I consider myself an animated drummer, and it's probably why I'm that way, because I love that, like smiling and constantly moving and jumping and standing on my drums and running around and taking the gong drum to the front, and just kind of just because I'm pretty ADD as it is, like in my everyday life, so I need that, you know what I mean? I need that like attention, or you know, not attention, but I need that like just something to do, you know, moving stuff. And so but you know, in the same, like, I obviously never saw like Keith Moon live, but same deal. Like, one of those like drummers that's just, you watching, you just like, you are just watching the drummer the whole time. It's like amazing. And I'll tell you too, man. I'm trying to think. I loved watching. I loved watching Joey Kramer too. Right. Different kind of thing. Yeah. You know, more like kind of just laying it down. But Steven's interaction too with him is always very funny, you know, because Steven goes back there and sticks the mic in his face and kisses him on the cheek, and you know, because Steven's such a character.
Yeah.
But you know, Joey's always one, and I love, like, Aerosmith's one of my favorites because I just love their songs. And dude, I gotta say too, I'm saying like a million, right?
That's good.
But I love, and I'll say, you know, Guns N' Roses obviously different lineup.
Yeah.
But they still have, you know, Duff / and Axl. And Frank Ferrer's out playing drums with them right now from the Chinese Democracy days. And Frank, dude, have so much respect for that guy because, dude, they play 3 hours, 30 minutes, wow. 3 hours. The longest show was in Paris. It was 3:45. Can you imagine being a drummer like with that much like intensity playing for that long?
I can't imagine being in the audience, let alone being in the band.
Totally, right?
It's
a long show, man, and it's like, you know, granted, those people are getting their money's worth.
Yeah.
But you know, he's got people back there like massaging his arms and I respect it, man, because it's like that's an intense gig, and just like going for it. And so I don't know. For me, I love, I try and take something from every drummer that I'm able to watch, because you can always learn, you can always kind of sit back and go like, yes, I love that, and I love that, and oh, I want to do that. Oh, what's he doing there? You know what I mean? But we've obviously had just unbelievable opportunities to do that, to be a sponge, to soak up all that stuff,
sure.
You know?
Tell me about then, so I think we'll try and sort of just really focus now on you know, on the Shakedown and just what you and the guys are going to do. You know, new album. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I've only had the chance to hear the first 2 songs on that, but it definitely feels like since that 2017 album, you know, you've sort of found your skin and you know where you are, and it's just kind of developing that kind of vibe. And I can see why fans of the last album are going to really dig the new album.
Yeah, I feel like we've kind of like matured a bit.
Yeah,
I think that's part of the process, is it being in a band and releasing records every 2 years. Like, it's a perfect snapshot of kind of where you are.
Yeah.
And again, through all these experiences, we're kind of just still learning and kind of figuring out more, of taking more risks and trying new things. And I feel like this album, man, is pretty diverse. It's pretty, you have your dark kind of like almost sinister-y type, like the last song we just put out, Shock and Awe, is very that. It's boom, 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 the video we put out, very like, ooh, this is like mysterious and weird, and like, and we went for that. But then on the opposite side, you have songs that are much more vulnerable lyrically, which we've done in the past, but not as much. We always kind of shy away from that. But I think we've gotten more comfortable doing that because we've realized that our fans really respond to it. Yeah. So you get that, and you get the hopeful, kind of maybe even like desperate sort of. We've got a few like love songs on the record, which we don't write a lot of those. Most of them are like, she left me and I'm pissed, you know? But we've got those, which is cool.
Would that annoy you if your one mega ballad becomes this? You know, if you're in a way that, like, you know, probably Aerosmith's best known number for like non-hardcore Aerosmith fans will just be like, you know, I don't want to miss a thing.
Sure, man. Well, you know what's kind of funny about that is it kind of is already like our most played song on Spotify is our slowest song that we've ever put out, and it's the one that you know, up to that point was the most vulnerable. So now it makes us go like, okay, well, clearly something is resonating. Also, that song, when we wrote it, was never even meant to be a Shakedown song.
Right.
And we were talking about it in an interview earlier today, but when we did the demo and we wrote it, it was Tyler and Graham and I, we did it like Tom Waits. We did the almost like cabaret, like Tyler, he played saxophone when he was in like middle school.
Right.
And he still has it. So, and he has it at his house. So on the demo, like as a joke, he took a saxophone solo. No kidding.
To go a bit Spandau Ballet, does it in the middle? Like,
no, exactly. And it was like, I remember, like, I think about it when he was doing it, and I was crying in the corner, like, I cannot believe that we were even doing this. And so we did it like kind of as a joke. Well, we ended up tracking it, you know, obviously didn't put the saxophone solo on it, but now it's like this epic guitar solo. But it turned into a Shakedown song, and it really is. It's like one of our most well-known songs.
We might have to get a saxophone out and leave it for upstairs for when Tyler turns
you
up.
You should, because we were joking about it this morning. He's got it. He's got to do that, man.
Let's just pretend we're a saxophone channel later on, and that actually Tyler's
perfect. So and I think. One of the songs that, definitely are like diehard kind of Shakedown fans are already stoked for is the most vulnerable song on the record, because it's lived on YouTube for a little while. It didn't have a title ever, but Tyler wrote it many, many years ago and kind of just posted a video of him singing it on our channel forever ago. And so everyone's already really excited for that. So I wouldn't be surprised if and there's not even drums on it. The only thing I do is I hit a bass drum like every top of the chorus. That's it. And I play keys a little bit too. I don't like live, but on the records I like to play piano and like I did some Mellotron and like Rhodes and stuff like that. So I was able to do that on that song. So live it's going to be different. Like we're going to have to figure out how to like incorporate that. But it's not like I'm back in the back playing a beat or anything. You know what I mean?
That's cool, man.
So, but I do think that you get. I think that you're sent through a range of emotions like through the record, and I think we crafted the sequence in a way to where you kind of do go through peaks and valleys, and you're able to almost feel like you're watching a movie in this strange way. And with the artwork, it's very out there and weird and very different for us. I don't know. I feel like this body of work is going to make people think more, if that makes sense. I think it's a little bit more open-ended to where people can insert themselves into the songs, into the lyrics, and interpret them totally like you would interpret it different than I do.
Right.
And you know what I mean? And I think that's important for just growing as artists, as a band, as as people too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As creators, I guess. And so I'm excited, man. I'm excited for people to hear it. I'm excited for it to come out. Sitting on a record is the worst.
Yeah, what is, because it's not far away. It's like
it's
June
28th. So yeah,
okay, end of this
we're
month.
3 weeks away. I don't even know what today is, to be honest. I'm like jet lagged and like trying to figure out. I was like, is today Wednesday? Wait, no, today's Thursday.
So what's the tour schedule looking like then to support the album?
We're here another. Tomorrow's our last day promo, and we got Saturday off, which is awesome because I love London. I love the city, and I love the UK really in general. So we get some time to kind of hang, but we get home. We're doing a release show in Nashville. We joked about playing in Nashville.
Yeah, absolutely.
Impress me.
Yeah,
my band's better. But we're excited about it. It's like a small, intimate thing. We're doing like this kind of like big blown out VIP, and it's gonna be cool. And starting June 1, do you know the Temperance Movement? Do you know those guys?
Yeah.
We're doing a co-headline run with them in the U.S. starting in the
July.
States in July.
Yeah.
Starting July 1. I think it's like 2 weeks.
They're great. They're just another one of those sort of. I'm loving the fact that there are. I mean, it's not like all these guys are kids or anything like that, but it's like it's really good to be able to put some music on and really get into it and go, these guys are actually still alive and and probably will be for another 30 or 40 years. It's like, as opposed to all so much of the stuff that I don't know 10 or 15 years ago, it sort of felt like the only music I was listening to was stuff that was in my dad's record collection.
Sure, I think there's this. We're getting off on another tangent, and we can talk more about the tour in a second. But I think really now we're starting to see this new wave of let's call it like rock and roll, that's coming back around. Obviously, people were like, rock is dead, blah blah blah, whatever. It never went away. It just, as far as like, it was still there. It was still like bands that were doing it. But now I feel like it's kind of coming back around where people are like starting to, notice it more. I mean, obviously you have your legacy bands, right? That Guns and, like the AC, if they do a record, and, obviously you still have that. But those bands they're legacy bands. Those are bands that'll live forever.
Yeah.
I wish they would live forever, actually.
Well,
Right?
musically they will.
Musically.
They will.
But it'd be sick if they could live forever.
Well, exactly. Who knows? By the time you're in your 60s, maybe they'll have cracked it.
Yeah,
and
right.
The shakedown could just go on forever.
Yeah, sure. But obviously with the rise of Greta Van Fleet, I think that kind of has really opened up some doors for us even. Bands like the Struts, bands like Rival Sons. Rival Sons have been doing it forever, but they're great. Temperance. I like to say that we're kind of a part of that. There's just some really good, genuine rock and roll that's kind of coming back around, getting away from this like pressing spacebar. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the music. I mean, obviously that's like really popular. And there's nothing wrong with that. I like that. But as far as like people playing their instruments,
how essential? This is. It's a great getting the opportunity to ask someone who's actually doing it and in the band. For me, the whole Guns and that era of the 80s of that sort of rock, they were so bad. Like they lived such a rock and roll lifestyle. For me, it just feels like something in society, whether it's social media or press or whatever like that, just won't let people smash hotel rooms up and throw TVs out the window and do all the other stuff that, maybe we shouldn't be promoting this. But like, does it sort of feel like if you take that out of rock and roll, it just isn't really proper rock and roll anymore?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Are you basically, do you smash your dressing room?
No. But I will say this. I think that stigma is not necessarily like real. I mean, maybe people still do, but it's definitely different than it was back then, right? The Guns N' Roses that everyone thinks still exists, and as far as like behind the scenes, or like the Crazy Zeppelin stories or any of that kind of stuff. Not really. Like we're like a pretty straight ahead rock and roll band. Like we don't do that, any of that stuff. Now we've done our
do you think it's as exciting though for young people to want to connect with if you're not being really
I'll tell you this, I think the mystery nowadays is gone.
Right, of course.
Because of the internet, because of social media, because of Instagram, it's like, oh man, like my favorite rock star is having avocado toast for breakfast this morning. You know what I mean? I just saw it on their story. And so it's like, it's just a different thing where it's like, when the Stones were big, you didn't know, where Mick Jagger was on Tuesday, March 6th. You know what I mean? It's like, and now even, where those guys are. Mick's like posting a video of him like, and granted, I love it because, when he's like coming back and he's like dancing and a thing, like kind of getting his mojo back. It's like, it's just gone. It's just different. You saw him on stage and it was like they came to your city and you saw him and it was like larger than life and it was like, oh, it's like, you think of like Michael Jackson when he'd go, wherever and it's like these people are feigning and this, that, and the other. And now it's like my favorite band is wherever, and obviously not all bands are like extremely active on social media, but still you have to sort of live that to stay especially for us, to stay relevant, you know what I mean, to keep people to stay on people's minds. So it's just a different time, but I do think, I won't disagree with you, I think that kind of world or those like the bad press that kind of like surrounded a lot of that stuff was interesting for people. It was like,
do you think it was a bit contrived? Like, as in you were able to almost, you could create your own mystery and mythos around you, whereas now it's just impossible to do that because, as you say, people can take a picture of you having breakfast every single morning. Sure. So it's like you can't pretend that you were out partying and doing stuff if you actually weren't.
Sure, yeah, right.
It's like,
I just think it's different, I think it's definitely, obviously still possible to resonate with people. I just think that the way in which it's done is just very different, It's
got a bit deep there. I'm just throwing it out there, I was just, you are the sort of the young, relatively young, relative to me, sort of rock and roll kind of band. I'm just wondering if it do you just have to not, do you have to just behave yourself a bit more than you?
Yeah, well, too, the other thing nowadays, right, is like everyone's offended all the time, right? Everyone just looks for reasons to be offended. Well, what did you say? well, I said this. Well, that offends me. Well, sorry. You know, it's like, and that's just the world we live in with all these movements. And I'm not talking bad about anything. I'm just saying that.
Yeah, don't offend anybody.
No, yeah, right. I'm not offending. I'm not trying to, at least. But it's just a different world we live in, man. But
Totally.
here's this, and here's our kind of what we believe as far as like, you know, how we approach it is like, I think if you make true, honest music that, you know, that allows you to sleep at night, you know what I mean? Where your integrity is still intact. I think people can latch onto it. And I think that through that, and obviously we've built really our following and it's on our live show. And that's like really where we pride ourselves, which is why we did this record in the way that we did it, live. You know, no fixes, no this, no that. We wanted to do it like our favorite bands did it way back in the day. I think that, just like Angus said, you know, if they believe you, they'll come with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, that's kind of been the way we approach it. We
awesome.
try to, you know what I mean?
Well, so just to recap then, album's out at the end of June.
Yep.
Which is awesome. Tour starts in the States on the 1st of July.
Yeah, on the 1st. And so now, so basically in the fall, we are confirming, we're still kind of like trying to solidify coming back here. Because obviously we have to come back here.
Well,
we love touring here, UK, Europe, kind of like that whole thing. So, which is obviously why we're here doing promo and press. So that'll happen definitely before the end of the year. We have some festivals. We're actually doing one with Guns in right outside of Nashville and Manchester, where they do Bonnaroo. It's the first year they're doing this. It's called like Exit 111 Fest, I think. And I couldn't believe it. Like they, you know, announced Guns is doing a bunch of their Voodoo Fest, ACL. They're doing like a bunch of festivals, and sure enough, we got put on their day on their stage, and so that'll be pretty cool to like see them again. So they're doing this rock fest, you know, where they do Bonnaroo, and so we have that, and obviously going to be riding the record, you know, and so I think dates are still to come, but will come soon. And definitely before the record's out. And we'll be back over here definitely playing, touring.
Well, put me down for 2 tickets.
Definitely,
somewhere in London or southeast of England.
Of course.
It's been a brilliant time meeting you. Really
we could talk for hours.
I know.
I feel like.
I'm sorry to any drummers that watch this going, you should have talked about drums more. It's really, I just love to talk about music.
So do I,
life,
man.
You know,
I'm obviously a drummer, but like, I feel like I want to talk more about that than I'm like, hey, check out this sick rudiment that I can do with it. No, nothing wrong with that.
But you can do it. You'll be a great drummer, and it's a great band. Honestly, you should check them out. So I'll put links in the description below where you can find out about the band and tours and everything like that. Comment if you like, you know, comment if you would rather I was replaced with a drummer and we did just talk about rudiments. We will take that on board.
Well, how about this? The next time I'm back, have me back on, and then we can talk rudiments and left-hand lead, jazz exercises, and we can do it all, man. Some marching stuff. Like, I can so nerd out on that stuff.
Were you in a marching band?
Totally.
It
was my life, dude.
What colour, like outfit? Sparkling green or something?
No. We were red, but I did indoor drumline, no kidding, and wore a spandex, like tight as you could possibly think, head to toe, or not head to toe, but basically from my neck, you know, with these like ballet shoes. It was pretty unreal. Very embarrassing. Wow. But hey, man. If
anyone's got any pictures of that, again, in the
I
comment
do.
section
I'll
below.
post one.
Anyway, look, it's been great again. Take it easy, man.
Cheers,
it's really
brother.
cool.
Thanks for having me.
See you again, guys. Bye.